Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the May 4th meeting. Now I would recognize a motion to that effect.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Thank you. We have a suburban school district application for funding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is a single application for your consideration today. It comes to us from Edmond Public School District. It's for $500,000. It's to purchase technology equipment for various facilities. This will be for projectors, smart boards, and computers at elementary, middle, and also copiers at the high schools. It meets all the requirements of the MOU, and we recommend approval.
Are there any questions? Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Thank you. We have a couple of finance reports. First, we're being asked to approve the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust Revenue and Obligation Report for March of 2010.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the one item that I'll bring to your attention is the suburban district account continues to fall below the $20 million range. This was originally about a $150 million estimate, and as you can see, each of the suburban districts are starting to complete those projects, and we would expect that to continue to fall over the coming year and on. The detailed reports are attached, and again, I can answer any questions you may have.
Eric, what was the large other revenue this month? Oh, larger than normal.
I'll need to follow up on the $330,000. Obviously, we get the interest proceeds.
Interest is $800,000.
I can follow up on that. It could very well be also, I don't know. Some of the previous ones have been, those can be redeposits from suburban districts that don't use their entire amount, but I will follow up and get that responded to.
Is there a motion to approve the Public Schools Trust Revenue and Obligation Report for March of 2010?
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Thank you. Next, we're being asked to ratify the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust payments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's approximately $7.3 million in trust payments from the period April 14th through May 11th. There's 65 total. And on the bond side, $252,000, 8 total payments. We're recommending approval.
Any questions? Is there a motion to approve this ratification?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Next, we're being asked to recommend to the Board of Education of Independent School District Number 89 that they approve the project requirements and proceed with option 2 for Emerson Alternative School Project EB-17.
Thank you. I want to provide a little bit of background before we begin the presentation from Mike Mize with ADG. We've obviously been working on the Emerson School for quite some time. The first community meeting was clear back in January, and several things came to our attention, and I'm going to share those right now. The original PIP that was developed included a total budget of about $1.8 million for this school. It was anticipated to be just a remodel. There were some existing buildings that were on site that were going to be maintained. It was also not looked at as anything different than a traditional high school like we have done on some of the other projects. It was used as just in the model platform, so to speak. But in May, it came to our attention, of course, that there are some very special programs that are there. There are actually 2 schools at Emerson. There is an alternative school, but there is also a school for teens that either are parents or are pregnant to become parents. And so there are some specialty classes that are there. There are some specialty spaces that are there. And it does not fit our traditional MAPS model. And so with that, we had extra meetings at that school with staff, and there have also been some third-party community meetings that are ongoing, and we're still receiving comments on this school. But we've incorporated as much of the information as possible and come up with the option 2 that's being recommended, and it includes the incorporation of the parenting program and some of the special areas of the school into the new renovation and new addition. And so it is much more than just a renovation of the existing facility. We're looking to remove all of the outbuildings and portable buildings that are on site. If you've been to that site, you'll see that there are some more semi-permanent structures. They're not all just portable buildings, but they're not attached to the main building. And so some of the programs are in the main building, some of them are exterior. There's some parking and site access issues. But we believe with the revised budget that ADG has developed that those needs are being addressed. And the final thing that I will mention is the bond fund, because of its current status, is not able to fund the additional improvements. And so as a second part of option 2, increasing the scope of work, we're also recommending that the project be moved from the bond fund to the tax fund, where we do have a surplus of funds to pay for the project. predominantly there is a project that we have been carrying for some time called the Alternative Schools Project that does not have an address, and we're going to use mostly those funds to accommodate this new school program in the tax side. But with that, I'll have Mike make the presentation, and we can answer any further questions that you might have.
Thank you, Eric. Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Couch. Eric, I think, has done a really good job of describing the process that we went through. We did spend more time on this facility because of its special nature than we did on any of the other more typical kinds of schools. The presentation that you're going to see is going to look fairly typical, but there's an awful lot of work that went into this with the school staff and faculty that may not be readily apparent. As Eric said, there were two options. We are recommending option 2, which will provide a significantly higher level of services for the Emerson students. It's a complete renovation of the facility, converting spaces from administration to classroom and from classroom back to administration to accommodate better flow through the building. This is a site plan of the facility. It's a 3-level structure. As Eric said, we will be demolishing some of the existing structures on the site. We've determined that it is more cost effective to demolish those structures and replace them than it is to try and renovate some of those structures. The parenting program space, we have left it, we have not defined spaces within the parenting program space per se. We think that's a job better left to the architect once they have an opportunity to look at it and do an interior design and locate classrooms according to their plan rather than us do it. So we identified space which we believe is large enough to accommodate those functions. This shows some of the additional space that will be added. And then some of the renovations that will take place on the second and third floors as well. Option 2, as Eric pointed out, is significantly more than just the original renovation. We've actually worked very hard at trying to get a realistic estimate on this as well, because we know that it's a considerable amount more than was originally budgeted. Excuse me. Schedule. I hope to begin design work on this very quickly and have occupancy by fall of 2012. We did our best to try and answer the concerns that were raised by staff and by patrons. And we believe that with the space that we've allotted that we can accommodate most of these concerns. With that, are there any additional questions? Yes.
Is there likelihood to be some private funds? Is that, I noticed you had to combine with private funds on the questions down there.
I don't know. We haven't really been involved in the funding portion.
You know, as I mentioned this spring, we've done a lot of work with the school and understanding their current programs. Some of the comments that I'm starting to receive in this past several weeks are some additional programs that are being desired potentially by the school. And so we have been approached by some private entities whether maybe these additional programs can be offered at Emerson or not. But at this point with the school district, I mean, we haven't received any guidance on expanding the Emerson program other than accommodating what's there. And as part of the MAPS project that we're recommending today is one that that treats this project no different than the others. Again, remove the portable buildings, make it a site that is safe and secure, has adequate drop-off space and things. I imagine we're going to get into that as a part of the design, though, not a lot different than, say, the other schools that have taken on some public or community interest, and we'll sure address those as they come forward. But today, this would just be to make this project a MAPS project that addresses making sure that we have the same construction standards, not leaving those portable buildings, making sure that we've got those safe and secure entries and all the technology and function available.
Does this stay within the same timeline, project timeline, or did we expand our project timeline to fit within this budget?
The timelines of the individual projects have changed somewhat over the course of the program. With it being one of the later projects, my guess is if we compared it to the original timeline, it has changed. But since our last PIP amendment, it hasn't changed.
Yes.
Is this the oldest building in the Oklahoma City school system?
It is, and it was actually one of the first buildings constructed, although it burned to the ground in, I believe, 1907. It was completely rebuilt. There's a small portion of the corner of the building that is the original construction from 1889.
And the building hasn't had the best care over all the years, but it's structurally in pretty good shape.
Yes.
And so although it's in pretty tough shape at this point in time for the $3.5 million, we think we can bring it up to the same level as the other schools that we've rehabilitated in the district.
We're using a lot of the same cost models that we've used on all the schools. It's generally $50 or thereabouts a square foot for renovation, and then $150 a square foot for new construction. This includes about a 13,000-foot new addition, which will take all of those outbuildings and bring them onto the same, basically, main building, much like what we did at Wilson Elementary. If you'll see, the historical front entry won't change from Walker Avenue. Most of the new construction is behind that, so it preserves the heritage of the building, but all of those function spaces are added. And, of course, we can back up the slides if necessary, but you'll see the large space that's been provided for the parenting program yet to be designed by the project architect. Project architect has already been selected. It's Thomas Small. It's the Small Group Architects. They have done some previous work on one of our other historic buildings, and so they came recommended, and I think they would also do a great job as we work through the issues here at Emerson.
Other questions? Yes?
Can you tell me, is the goal when we go in and do the redesign in the new building to keep the two programs separate because of the nature of the population? Do we know that yet?
I do believe the two programs are separate, and right now they're actually housed on different floors. So the alternative school operates in a portion of the building, and then the pregnant teen program is in a completely separate area. And so we will have those divided. Now, they'll potentially share parking lots and things like that, but yeah, we will be working closely with the school to keep those most likely separate.
Okay. And then can you tell me how much money was allocated on the tax portion to the alternative schools budget?
I believe it was I need to double check, but it was between $3 and $4 million.
Okay, so we're using the difference between the original option 1 budget and the $3.5 million. We're taking that from the tax portion. Is that correct, or are we?
It's actually simpler than that. What we're actually doing is, since the bond fund is in deficit, we are going to just return the entire cost back to the bonds to help us bring that back to zero.
Okay.
We then had ADG do a separate estimate on the renovation and then the new addition and brought that forward, and we'll just be funding that completely out of the tax.
Okay, and so that won't leave anything in the tax portion for
additional alternative schools? No, we'll virtually be using the entire alternative schools budget. And when we bring these numbers to you, we have not brought yet the PIP amendment. So we will be moving some other costs. We have not included in the totals that you see here today the contingency amount, any new furniture, fixtures, and equipment for the new addition, and that will be brought forward as additional cost with the PIP amendment. What we're discussing today is just the construction cost only, as that's how we've compared each of the project requirement documents, is construction cost only.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes, Anthony.
First, I applaud the direction that's being taken. I have a few questions, though. First, would approving this put to rest Emerson as the site for a downtown elementary school?
Downtown Elementary School is a completely separate project, and I would say, yes, it's not the site for the Downtown Elementary, as the Emerson program today will be, at this point, housed in this renovated Emerson school.
you addressed some concerns expressed by staff or by the community for 52 babies in particular. Is that number based on the number of babies there now, or what could be envisioned in the future?
That number is based, I don't know the exact number that's there now, but that number is based upon our many discussions with staff and administration about the desired capacity.
And I had a similar question to related to the physical location of the two programs, and my eyes may not have been good enough to see what was envisioned here, but would the child care sort of facility be on the first floor and the alternative school on the second floor, at least as you envision it, knowing that the architect may design something different?
As we envision it, yes. Typically you want younger age children on the first floor, and that separation seems to work reasonably well with the plans.
But it's open to be done
plans.
either way at this point? Is it open to be done either way at this point?
I think it probably is based upon what the architect wants to do, but I think it would be, based on our experience, keeping younger children on the first floor is a much better idea.
Thank you.
Yes?
And would there be separate entrances for the programs, or no, there would be the same entry point? So while one might go to the second floor for the alternative school, and then you've got the teen parenting program on the first floor, would they be entering through the same?
I mean, I think it's open. Right now, with the plan that you see today, actually has just one common entry just to maintain security in the building. But I think that as we get into it a little bit deeper, there could be two, and we have actually done that at certain schools. If they've got a special needs program, we've had an ability to have a separate drop-off and pick-up for certain groups of students at schools. And so that's definitely all open. Obviously, some of the traffic patterns in the area are limited. There's really little or no access from Walker, and some of those things will go into account as well. But I think if you look at the layout that ADG provided, let me just back this up real quick. One of the opportunities that you have is that the main entry is central to the building, and it's basically located at the bottom of this drawing. With the kind of the U-shaped floor plan that we have the opportunity to actually have two completely separate sides of the school that give this plan, if this is one that's adopted by the architect, an opportunity to really have two separate schools with one administration. And they do have one administration there now. But
Okay.
we will, again, it's obviously the very early stages of the project. We're going to be working very closely with the principal, the staff, the administrators of the building to make sure that whatever design is approved and that we bring back, is one that's agreeable to all.
Can you tell me? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No.
Just one general comment. I mean, when we put these project requirements together, it's not intended to be the final design. What we're trying to do is make sure that we can accommodate the space needs of the user and make sure that the physical plant is capable of either being renovated or needs additional space. So we really leave an awful lot of this up to the architect, and that's the way we've done it on all these project requirements. Because of the very special nature of this building, a lot of these questions come up much earlier, and we tried to deal with them as part of developing these project requirements, but the architect is really going to have a much greater opportunity to work with staff, to work with the faculty, to make sure that the elements that we're all here concerned about are incorporated into that final plan.
So there will be quite a few more opportunities for community meetings with the neighborhood area,
Yes.
in addition to the faculty.
There will be. I mean, just as in any
Right.
other of the school
All the other
projects,
processes.
those same opportunities will be available.
Questions? Any others?
I do have one more, please. Eric, are you comfortable that moving this project over in the tax portion and combining it creates any potential small risk to the other remaining projects as far as funding those?
I don't, only because the alternative schools, we've been carrying that budget since day one, and this more or less just replaces the alternative budget that we already had. So there's actually a negligible difference between the alternative schools and the cost of this school completely, in its total. They're both between about $3 and $4 million, so there's little change to the overall budget.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion for approval? Been moved, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Thank you. Next item, approve the final plans and specifications for Project ES 51 Southern Hills Elementary School and authorize the Secretary to advertise for bids to be received June 8, 2010.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a second presentation for you today on this project from TAP Architecture, and so I'm going to invite them up and make that presentation and answer the questions that you may have.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Couch, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dennis Hairston. I'm with TAP Architecture. We're the architects for Southern Hills Elementary School, here to present the final plans and specifications for approval and issuance for bidding. Southern Hills Elementary School, overall presentation will include a general project overview, design approach to renovation and additions, presentation of final plans, including site plan, floor plan, perspective views, interior materials, project budget, project schedule, and then we'll open it for questions and comments. Site plan for Southern Hills Elementary School, little small scale here to get the full site on the slide, but we have a Southwest 77th Terrace at the top of the sheet. Then we have Kentucky Avenue to the left. The existing school is hatched in. The proposed addition is in the upper right of the existing school floor plan. We're proposing a new drive-through drop-off on the north side of the building, and also some modifications to the existing service drive to the kitchen at the southwest corner of the building. There's new surfacing of the existing playground blacktop areas, and also some additional new playground equipment included in the project. Floor plan, this is area A, which is the north half of the building basically. Again, to the left is the existing building. Basically on the right, what is in yellow is the addition, includes a new library, a new computer lab, new art and music classrooms. The existing administrative areas, which is kind of the light pink color, is modified and enlarged to accommodate new programs in that area. The kind of gray color, darker gray color, is the special needs areas. The light blue is the cafeteria kitchen, and then the lavender areas or the purple areas are kind of the service areas for the building. South half of the building, kind of a T shape. We have restrooms and then multiple classrooms. Basically, we're just doing remodels and upgrades to the existing finishes in this part of the building. Aerial view from the exterior, you can see the new drive-through drop-off in the foreground. Again, Southwest 77th Place is in the foreground. The faculty parking is on the right. The existing building straight ahead, and then the addition is to the left. We've created a new main entry to the building with the addition, enlarged the building lobby, which is a major social space for the building, parents and teachers and students. View of the new interior lobby, the new administrative areas on the right, and then on your left would be the new library space. Typical corridor in the existing building, new finishes including new floors. The existing wainscot is a glazed concrete block, which we are leaving in place, and then we'll repaint the block above it. New ceilings, new lighting throughout. The new library space, windows on the north, open ceiling space with direct, indirect type lighting in that area. Interior materials and finishes selections. The large sample on the right is the carpet. The samples in the lower left are the vinyl tile samples. There are several colors included in the, you can see the pattern of the corridors, uses several colors, and then also in the art room, we've used several colors in there to give it a little more lively space. Up above, then we have some paint colors, plastic laminate, solid surfacing materials, and etc. Project budget, current budget is $3.13878. Our final plans cost estimate base bid is $3,161,557. It's a little bit over our budget. It's about 0.07%. Add alternate number one is to replace an operable partition which divides the existing cafeteria space. It's $30,000 for alternate one. Add alternate two is to replace the existing doors and windows in the existing classrooms. That is $79,762. Project schedule, timeline, we had final plans and specifications were turned in on the 26th of April. We have a review period, which we're ending today. Planning issue of bids on tomorrow to the contractors, and then bids are due back from the contractors on June 8th. Anticipating contract being in place by June 24th, and then we've got construction from July of 2010 into November 2011. Concludes the presentation. Are there any comments, questions?
Any questions? Seeing none, I'd recognize a motion for approval. It's been moved. Or second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Thank you. Next item, we have award a contract to K&M Dirt Services, LLC in the amount of $87,601 and approved contracts and bonds for Davis Elementary asbestos abatement and demolition, project ES 76.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We received 3 bids on this project on May 4th, and each of those was below our original estimate. This also includes some environmental abatement and some things as well. One thing I may note is we have not completed all the insurance requirements and received the documentation from the contractor, so our approval today needs to be subject to receipt of the remaining insurance before we can issue notice to proceed on this project. We are recommending approval to K&M Dirt Services for $87,601.
Any questions? I'd recognize a motion to approve this with the contingencies that Eric mentioned.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Thank you. Next item, ratify the issuance of and approve addenda numbers 1, 2, and 3. Award the contract, base bid plus alternate 1, and unit prices to Central Asset Management, Inc., DBA, TDC Construction Company in an amount of $1,757,222.50, and approved contract and bonds for Thelma R. Parks Elementary School Project ES 47.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We received a great number of bids on this project. There were 10 total. If you look at your second page, you'll see that they were actually extremely close. The 2 low bidders actually had the exact same base bid number. We were with the alternate for the light sensors and for the unit prices that were needed for the concrete repair. There still was a marginal difference, but TDC Construction Company is our low bidder. Again, this is very encouraging information as we've got lots of bids that are yet to come in the coming weeks, and so we are very excited, and we have virtually a bid almost every other week as we enter into this summer. There were a few errors that are on a few of these bids, including our low bidder, but those have been since corrected, and we are recommending approval, proceeding with Parks Elementary, TDC Construction, in the amount listed.
Questions? I'd recognize a motion for approval.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Thank you. Next item is to approve change order number 3 for Hoover Elementary School, increase of $35,824.92, project ES 31.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 4 items on this change order. Most significant are items numbers 1 and 2. There were some hardware revisions that were required. I wouldn't tell you that Hoover was a surprise. I mean, obviously it is a large campus that's multiple buildings, but the way that the project was designed and the way that it needs to be operated are different. The design includes a central entrance point, although each of the buildings needs to be secured independently. And so item number 1 allows for us to secure them independently, have separate card access systems across that campus at an additional cost of nearly $20,290. The additional cabinets that are identified in item number 2 were a part of the demolition process. There were some areas that were being demolished and holes were created in the walls that were unforeseen by the engineer, and so these additional cabinets will cover those holes, securing both the building and making it aesthetically acceptable. Building is 50% complete. We're scheduled for completion later this year in September. Total changes on this project, including this change order, are still under 2%, and we're recommending approval.
Are there questions? Seeing none, I'd recognize a motion to approve this change order.
Move.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Thank you. Mr. Couch.
Mr. Chairman, a couple of things this morning on the project update. We're in the design phase on now 23 schools. Negotiations are underway for the final 9, and that does not include the downtown elementary. Downtown elementary is being advertised for architects in the next week. We're under construction on 20 schools. This morning, we received bids on Oak Ridge fire alarm, and the budget on that was $39,000, and it came in at $25,000. So did well on that one this morning. And then, as Eric mentioned earlier, we've got almost a bid opening a week coming forth. May 25th is Capitol Hill High School. June 8th is Southern Hills Elementary. Northwest Classen is July 13th. Eugene Fields is in July. Johnson Elementary is in July. And Hawthorne Elementary is in August. Community meetings, we've got Hillcrest Elementary groundbreaking was today at 2 o'clock, excuse me. Johnson Elementary final plans community meeting is Thursday night at 6 o'clock. Prairie Queen Elementary final plans community meeting is Thursday night at 6 o'clock. And Sequoia Elementary final plans community meeting is also Thursday night at 6 o'clock. So I guess we've got 3 of them all 6 o'clock at the same time, so we're probably spreading ourselves a little thin there. That being said, the next trust meeting is 2 weeks from today, Tuesday, June 1st.
Are there any questions? The program consultants update is in its monthly report in your packet. Are there any comments by trustees, staff?
I do have a follow-up to your question on the financial report. We were able to get a response from staff. So the $330,000 that was in the additional income, $252,000 of that was suburban redeposits. $78,000 was actually a bond fund reimbursement, and that's for our project management services that staff provides, and we're reimbursed from the bond fund.
I see. Thank you. Are there any comments by citizens? Seeing none, we're adjourned.